If you have one of these guys, he's a multi-poo, any sort of hairy dog like a poodle, a doodle, some sort, even some of the other breeds like Schnauzers. Any dog that basically has a bunch of hair around their face, you want to be able to trim some of the fuzz off of their face, because with these guys, their hair will just keep growing and growing, and it basically covers most of their sight, which in training at least, something that can get a little bit in the way. So the last thing I want for this puppy to deal with is, I know buddy, I know, I don't want him to deal with having to try to perceive where I am. I want him to use his sight as we're training. And if you look at him real quick, you can see his eyes. Now, I've had to I've had to trim his hair a little bit a couple of times, because there were a couple of times where the hair would just grow and it was very hard to see his eyes, which in turn could turn into, it might be hard for him to see his environment a little bit. One of the reasons that I want to be able to trim his face is because of that, right? Another reason is you can't see it here, and you really can't see it a whole lot with him anyway, but I've seen dogs, I've seen poodles, dogs with just a lot of hair on their face, their eye boogers will crust around the edges a lot more. Every dog will have, a little bit of eye boogers here and there. It happens. Obviously, diet and the environment do play a significant role on it. So if the dog is constantly discharging from their eyes, it's something you might want to look into with your veterinarian, because it's not supposed to be that excessive. But inevitably, every dog at some point will have a little bit of eye boogers. With the dogs that have a lot of hair on their face, what happens with them is the eye boogers tend to collect and crust around the edges so badly. I've seen it. I've seen it so bad that you just see layers of crust all around their eyes, because, again, there's just so much hair and it's just drying around their hair. So this is one of the reasons that I want to be able to trim around their face. So in this video, you're going to see me showing him how to deal with this, because right now, if I try to mess with his face, you can see he's struggling a little bit. He's actually not that bad because we worked on it, but a lot of dogs, you try to manipulate them, they get a little bit uncomfortable. So what I want to do is, I know, but you're being very patient, I want to be able to, as the owner of one of these dogs, now he's not my dog, he's one of my clients' dogs, but if I own one of these guys with a lot of hair that just keeps growing, one of the things that I want to be able to do is I want to be able to touch him everywhere. Okay? I should be able to touch his paws, his ears, definitely around the face, because I don't want to just rely on the groomer. That's not what I want to do. I want to be able to go in there. I want to be able to pull the crusties out of their eyes. I want to be able to trim around their face. I want to have the right equipment, of course. I don't want to poke them. But on top of having the right equipment, it's important for me to have this dog comfortable being handled. So if you own one of these guys, you have to be comfortable handling them, trimming around their face, because there's a little bit of extra maintenance with these guys than with other short-haired dogs.
And now we're going to be doing a little bit of that. So here I am doing a little bit of manipulating, and he is going to get paid for this. This is not the first time I'm doing it, but you basically see the premise here. I'm holding him steady, and my goal is to hold him steady. Now, if your dog struggles a little bit, you just wait until they don't struggle. There's a bit of a sense of authority when you do this. Okay, like right now, he's struggling. He's not really a big fan of that, so I'm just gonna persist. He's fighting it a little bit, but I'm gonna persist, because again, I'm thinking of it as, if this is my dog, you need to deal with me holding you. So a little bit of struggle. I'm going to persist. Gonna keep persisting, not in a forceful manner, but in a more stubborn manner. When he finally gives me a little bit of that steadiness, I let you go. That's your reward. Plus, you get a little bit of food. A little bit of shaking is definitely a little bit of that stress shaking. Not a big deal. Stress never killed anybody. And he still looks comfortable enough that he's not shut down. So I'm going to do it again. So as you can see, a little bit of fighting. Not a big deal. I'm just persistent, stubborn, not forceful, but persistent. A little bit of steadiness. Good job. Okay, a little bit of steadiness for like a fraction of a second or a second. Good job. So if you own one of these guys, you want to be able to handle your dog. It should be not just up to the groomer. So he gives me that steadiness. Now he's starting to understand the concept. If I hold you, I manipulate you, just give me a little bit of steadiness, and then it's over. A little bit of fighting there, so I'm just going to persist.
Yes.
And then back to, good job, here's your food. Plus, letting them go, also, that in itself is a reward. I'm actually going to remove some of the little boogers of his eye. Just like I said earlier, this is normal. But this is why I want to be able to, you want to be able to handle your dog so that you can do that. You don't want to have a dog that has this type of hair and you not able to do that right there. You don't want to have a dog that has this type of hair and then when you touch their face, they're snapping at you. It is not okay. You have to be able to handle your dog. Because you should be able to trim as well. So that steadiness allows me to trim. If he was fighting it, then obviously that is a problem. Now those scissors are not regular scissors. They're made for grooming, so the tips are round. So if he were to move, it'd be very unlikely that he would get poked. So right equipment is definitely helpful here. So this right here is why I want to be able to do that. Right now I'm holding his collar, which has got a little flat collar. So the collar allows me to hold his head steady. Now I'm going to do a different exercise, very similar, but this time it's a little bit different in that now I'm just holding him to the side. Again, just give me a little bit of steadiness. And that's it. The moment you give me a little bit of steadiness, it's over. Doing it again. Just give me a little bit of steadiness. And that's all I ask for. Okay? You need to be able to handle your dog. And there needs to be a bit of a sense of authority. Look, I know some of you guys watching this, you're not dog trainers. So are there other ways to elicit this behavior? Yes, I made a video a long time ago with one of my Chihuahuas where I taught her to do this on cue. But not always doable, and it does take a little bit longer. This is easy, it's quick, and it's to the point. So that's what I want you guys to be able to do with your dogs.